And finally, the L girder benchwork had to be dismantled, and the valance from the ceiling, I had to cut it up and throw it out. I left the lights on the ceiling. The people who bought the house might have wondered why there was a huge U-shaped string of fluorescent lights running around the ceiling. But the ballasted track, the glued down and ballasted track on my old layout was a nightmare to pry up and remove. Depending on how much glue I had used on each section of track, the ballast stayed glued between the ties, and granules of ballast were stuck to the rails. I ended up spending many hours with a bristle scrub brush and finally scrubbed off the ballast. Can we go to slide 2, please? Okay, now, one of the wonderful things about renting is that you can't build a huge layout. It can't be bolted to the walls or anything like that. We're renting a house, and although our landlord says he'd be happy to have us stay forever, you can't really build a permanent model railroad in a place you only rent. You can't knock down walls, and but you don't want to do anything too permanently because of the complexity and time and effort it takes to dismantle such a layout when you need to move. And depending on the length of your lease, you want to get trains running in months, not years. When we moved in, we signed a 2-year lease, and now we should be able to stay another year. But even so, in a rented place, you don't want to spend a year building benchwork, a year on lighting and backdrops, and a year laying track, and a year doing wiring, and so on. The time problem can be solved through having a relatively small layout, especially if you live in an apartment and you work full time. Now, similar considerations come into play for elderly modelers and those in poor health, but that's a completely different topic that I don't want to get into right now. But this time, as a tenant, I vowed to build a portable enough layout that if we have to move, it shouldn't take more than a couple of days to take everything down and load it into a moving van. Can I have the third slide, please? Now, there you are. These are pictures of a fat old guy that my daughter took when I first started building the layout. Now, I decided that we do the new layout sits on these lightweight rectangular frames. The legs fold up, and one set of legs nestle into the other. When the time comes to move, each section can be lifted off and carried out. You can carry it with one hand. And when I want to build a new layout, I would just unfold the benchwork and drop the top on each section. The legs on one end are about 1.5 inches wider than the other end. And the one folds over the top of the other. Each section can be carried with one hand, as you can see in the picture on the right. If anyone wants more details on how the folding legs can be built, let me know, and I'll measure everything up and drop a diagram and send it to you. Could we have the fourth slide, please? Fourth, that's fine, there. Now, as you can see in this picture, the lift-off sections just simply rest on top of the folding trestles that were in the other picture. I had to add diagonal braces. They're just bolted on for security. Yeah, when it comes time to move, you just unbolt them. I would label them first. But each of the lift-off section, you can see there's a piece of plywood on the top, and the sides of the lift-off sections are made with MDF. I went to Home Depot and bought a sheet, 3/4 inch sheet of MDF, and I forget how many strips the guy in Home Depot cut. But MDF is made up of waste and recycled wood fibers that are hot pressed into a uniform board. So it's cheaper than dimensional lumber, and since it has no grain direction, it's less prone to shrinking and swelling and warping than dimensional pieces. You'll notice under there are no cabinets, there are no shelves, there's no doors under the layout, just the moving boxes that everything came in, and we'll use to take them out whenever that time comes. We go to the 5th slide, please. Now, as you can see, it's fairly straightforward. When we moved in, we discovered they had wall-to-wall broadloom in the basement. I didn't really want to pull it up because it was pretty cold down there, and the carpet kept things less cold. But as you can see in the picture, when it comes to building a model railroad, you really want to be able to have the leg leveling screws on the bottom of each leg. These ones have a full inch of play, and you can turn them with your fingers to get everything level. And in this case, I had some scrap MDF. It was 1/8 inch thick that my brother gave me. And each leg sits on a piece of this, and you can adjust it to within a tiny fraction of a millimeter to keep things level. Can we go to the 6th slide, please? Now here, I don't know, we were looking at some apartments, and of course, in many cases, the apartment building or the condo will say, it has a 1-bedroom plus den, or 2 bedrooms plus den, and the den turns out to be about 6 by 10. And it's very small, and you can think, well, okay, what could I do with that den? Well, certainly, you have to keep in mind that in Japan, N scale is the scale of choice, and gauge. And the modelers in Japan had a perfectly enjoyable and active hobby. But then again, these are people who sleep in tubes. So a small room, in these case, here's a 24 square foot patterns made up of 3 modules. And they could be bolted together again with the fold up legs. And you could put them in this, what they call a den. Can we go to the next slide? Yeah, and these are a few, if you have a slightly bigger area, if perhaps you had a condo or an apartment with a 1-bedroom plus den or 1-2 plus den. I haven't shown things like windows and doors, but I mean, just to express the idea that here's some layouts with 4 or 5 modules that you could put together. And, there you go. Especially in N, you'd have an empire in N scale. Okay, can we go to the next slide, please? So this was the space, or is the space that I have. It's 8 by 16. A room in the basement, and I took measurements. Now, there are, I believe, 11 2x4 pieces, each with the folding legs, and the green curves are obviously the backdrop. And the pink, there's 2 pink triangles and a pink half circle. These are simply extensions. Pieces of 1/2 inch plywood that I screwed on to the portable sections. I guess you'd call them portable, but they're just screwed on, and that provided me with a lot more space. I was able to cut the corners um, using the track. As you can see, if you didn't have those little pink triangular bits, you'd have a hard time running a high track and a low track. And the half circle in the bottom allows a loop to go around there. Um, so I guess we can go. I guess we can go to the next slide. Yeah, yeah. This is the track plan. So as you can see, in the upper left corner, there's some sort of a pillar or something. It's concrete, and so I couldn't have that. And at the lower left, it doesn't. You can't really see it on the plan, but there is enough room for a small fiddle yard, I guess. But it's a simple track plan. It uses about 20 manual turnouts that you move with your index finger. If you're a tenant or you don't plan to live forever, now you have an excellent excuse for not spending a year installing tortoise switch machines and wiring them up to control panels. It was, it's tremendous fun to be able to throw a turnout from your control panel, but it's not something time-wise that you can really afford to do unless you know that you're going to be staying a long time. Certainly, if you had signed a 1-year lease, for example, you don't want to be spending a long time building things before you even begin to run trains. So I knew right away that I was going to have to throw the turnouts manually. Now, yeah, can we go on to the next slide, please? This is the West Loop. This is how it sits right now. It was the original insulation board was pink, and I just painted it gray to tone it down a bit. You can see the scenery in the back and the backdrop. There's nothing fantastic about the scenery or the backdrop because, I didn't have years to do it. So since you're renting and you have to move, you want to make the scenery fairly quickly. Nothing fancy. In this case, I just glued together some foam, carved the foam with an Olfa knife. Then I covered the foam with a layer of plaster impregnated cloth. And when that dried, 2 thick layers of tan paint, and then shake on some woodland scenics grass. And the trees, you can see a few trees up there on the back. They're just pushed in, they're not glued in. So when it comes time to move, you just pull them right out. Now, if you get a longer lease, I felt like saying a longer lease on life, but anyways, if you get a longer lease from your landlord, you may want to sprinkle on a variety of different colors of ground cover and shrubbery, and especially if scenery is your thing. But anyways, it didn't take long to do the scenery. The roads, I haven't yet done the roads. I may just simply leave the roads as gray painted foam. There is that guy in Model Railroader magazine, is he from Denmark or Holland or something, who like literally would spend months just doing a section of roadway, and it looks beautiful. The roads he does have cracks and different colored pavement and drainage and stuff like that. But if that's your thing, that's fine. But you don't want to be doing it when the landlord says he's moving in. Can we go to the next slide, please? Now, here's the East Loop. The East Loop is a bit larger than the West Loop. You can see the backdrop in the back, and the overhead lights. I'll talk to about those in a minute. But on the East Loop, this is a loop. You can see the loop in the foreground. That just rests on a 1/2-inch piece of plywood supported to the benchwork with screws and I guess you'd call them angle irons. And yeah, there's just a support under there, and that can be cut and removed and taken out when it comes time. The tan piece in the middle is for structures that I might be buying at the Lakeshore Train Show next week, if I can get there early enough before they disappear. I have no idea what's going to be available on sale, but most of my structures have come from the Lakeshore Train Show. The East Loop is bigger than the West Loop. There's more room for structures. In the foreground is the fine scale miniatures 2-stall engine house, and I have another engine house. I forget who made it, but some of these craftsman kits made out of wood are very delicate, and you have to keep that in mind too if you're building a layout that you plan to dismantle. Can we go to the next slide, please? This is the old-fashioned Atlas HO turntable. I think I've had 2 or 3 of these over the years. My previous one on my earlier layout was wired up, and I built a little building over the unsightly out of scale turning knob that sits out like that. But again, here we want speed and simplicity.
Yeah.
And I just cut a 1/2 inch to 1 inch. Can't remember, maybe it was 3/4 of an inch. Circle deep, right directly in foam, dropped in the hand cranked Atlas turntable. And
Hi, it's Ted and Sharon. We just wanted to follow up on the conversation last week, ask how Peter's doing. We're certainly thinking of you. We want you to take care, and if there's anything we can do, please let us know. That's
Hey, Ted.
519-770-4086.
Your microphone's on, Ted.
Sorry, go ahead, Richard.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's this turntable is going to serve the two stall engine houses, and it will be also used to turn locos. You can see there's one straight track going in, and you can turn the locos around and head it back out the other way. Now, if you go to the next slide, please.
Oops, sorry. There we go.
There it is. Now, yeah, you you can't drill holes in the ceiling. So I knew I had to light the layout some way. The LED strips on 1x2 plywood, 1x2, I guess you call it strapping. Yeah, strapping is the right word. Is just used for that. Now, you can see that the LEDs are attached to the long pieces of the very lightweight. The trick here is to make everything as light as possible, right? It is going to be supported across. You can see in the picture at the lower left that the same pieces of 1x2 that hold up the masonite backdrop also serve as the vertical posts for the horizontal piece that extends out over the layout, and that in turn supports two long pieces of strapping or pieces of strapping to which the LED lights are fixed. So the trick is to keep everything as lightweight as possible. You don't want to be, I imagine you could do it with a long piece of aluminum, but wood is what I was used to doing. So again, you know, the landlord may allow you to paint the walls sky blue, and, you know, maybe even put some clouds on the walls if you want, and just curve the corners with a piece of Bristol board painted blue. But I decided that I would take the backdrop and the lights and the top lift off sections and make them all into a three-part components, I guess. And when it comes time to move, you just unscrew everything and put them in boxes, and away you go. Yeah, the backdrop and the lights and I don't know what you call, what the correct architectural term is for the supports that go from posts across to the strips, but it all unscrews when it's time to move. Can we go up to the next frame, please? The next slide. Now, there's really no reason. In my previous permanent layout when I was younger, it was, I wouldn't say it was easy, but it was certainly less difficult to get under the layout and run wires. I had a little, whatever you call those things on casters that mechanics use. A creeper, I think it's called.
Creeper, yeah.
Yeah. And I had one of those, and I used to roll down around underneath the layout and affix all the wires that way. But this way, I wasn't too upset if I saw wires sitting on the front. You're not, in this case, I'm not bothering with stained cabinet doors and a huge effort to make a level of permanence such that the layout itself is the sole focus. So I'm not trying to make hide the benchwork. And I thought for that reason, there's no need to try to hide the wires. You can just simply run them across the front. As you can see, it's just those bang-on, hammer-on wire holders there that suspend the wire, and you can stand there and solder and clip and do everything you want without having to get underneath the layout. And the bus wires run across the front of each section. Okay, can we go to the next frame, please? So here's the wires, the feeder wires to the track. Again, do you really want to get under the layout and start drilling holes to try and feed the wires up? Well, yeah, you can if you want, but you don't have to. And in this case, the back level of the layout is under, I think, 4 or 6 inches of foam. And you want to drill through 6 inches of foam and then a ½ inch of the plywood underneath the foam and fish a wire up. It wasn't going to happen. I didn't want to have to buy one of those long drill bits and so on. So it would have required the long drill bit, and you have to climb under the layout and start fishing wire through and pulling it down. Instead, I just simply drilled through the ½ inch thick wood at the front of the picture there, fish the wires up, and you can run the feeders directly to the rails from there. And now it looks unsightly now, it's very unrealistic, but you can take some ground cover, bushes, trees, and just place them over these wires that run up there. Can we go to the next slide, please? Now here, you have a small layout. It's made of, I wouldn't say quite portable, but certainly lift off sections, and there's not much room for things like yards and icing tracks and so on. So there is a little, I can steal a bit of space from the aisle in front of the west circle or the west pod or whatever you want to call it. And it's very easy to do. Piece of plywood, some shelf brackets screwed in. You just lay on a piece of cork. And in this case, you can see the couple of wires there. Those wires are used to wire up the MRC Prodigy Express programming track. The locomotive goes on the programming track and you program it. I don't know if there's any great advantage to using a programming track with DCC, but we've got a terminal on the back of the DCC power pack or cab. It does say programming track, so I figured I'd make use of it. I've never made use of it before. So as you can see, it's just a piece of plywood supported by some shelf brackets on screws. I think I put it up in about 30 minutes. Can we have the next slide, please?
Oops, I'm sorry. Hang on a sec. There we go.
There. Now, this is the top view of the same extension that was just in the previous slide. Now, these two tracks, one of the front one is the programming track, but from a scenic and operating point of view, I do have the fine scale miniatures icing platform kit, and I did make sure there's enough room for it. So these two tracks will serve to hold refrigerator cars, and I hope, have a great deal of fun building the FSM icing platform kit. It may take several months, but that's what it's here for. Can we go to the next slide, please? All the track is glued down with Aline's tacky glue. That was thanks to Jason Schrawn of Rapido Trains. He gave a presentation of his fantastic layout to CARM. I think it was a couple of, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Might have been as much as 6 years ago. And Jason recommended put your affix your track with Aline's tacky glue. And so I bought some, and it works beautifully. You just put it on, and because it's tacky, the track doesn't move while you're working with it. You can move it, but it doesn't spring back to be straight. And again, unlike ballast and the, what do they call it, the carpenter's glue that impregnates the ballast, that's really hard to get up. But Aline's, you just use an Olfa knife or a putty knife, and the track comes up. And I've stayed away from ballast. It looks not very realistic, but it's something I'm willing to live with. Okay, Aline's has worked great for me. We saw Jason's article in the Weekend Globe and Mail about how the trains ran faster 50 years ago. He had a great little piece in the opinion section of the Globe and Mail. I was reading the article and waiting to see if there was some recommendation that if you had any interest in modeling the turbo train, where you could buy HO scale models of the turbo, but he didn't mention it. That's good. Can we go on to the next slide, please? Now, when I dismantled my old layout, there were, well, for one thing, it should be fairly obvious that the Craftsman kits, the fine scale kits made from wood, are far more delicate than the plastic ones that you can build in an evening. And when I took apart my old layout a few years ago, there were a few structures that I had spent literally months building, and they were just glued down to the layout surface with maybe some shrubs or something. And when it came time to pry them up, the walls collapsed. And there were a few buildings that I didn't want to lose that I ended up just throwing out because it was just too much trouble to try to glue them all back together. I mean, certainly you're going to lose things like chimneys and antennas and wires and figures and a few delicate pieces that come glued on to the structure. But those, you can pick up, save in a bag, and glue them back on later on. But you don't want the whole structure coming apart when it comes time to move or relocate. So each of these structures sit on bases. These are made with 8-inch thick MDF, but you could use masonite or any 1/4-inch wood, anything. But I made sure that these individual structures, you just lift them up. You lift them up from the bases. Now, it doesn't look very realistic right now, but once you apply some concrete or tan paint and some grass and junk, it'll look just as good, but you'll be able to lift them off without destroying the structure. Anyways, yeah, those are structures on bases. Can we go on to the next slide, please? So in a small layout, you don't have room for a big yard. It would be nice. I mean, I guess if you're interested in yards, you could have a yard and just a couple of loops or something. But in this case, I realized that I've got way more cars than I have space to keep them on the track. So as you can see by the pictures, this is how the cars are stored. They're right next to the fiddle yard. So when I want to make up a train, I simply reach in and use the 5-fingered crane. The cars are all identified with little tabs at the end of them. And you can just pick them out and put them on the track. And when it's time to come off the layout, they go back where they came from. Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to have a permanent layout in a bigger space where you can have a large classification yard or hump yard or whatever. But on a small layout, you just have to make some compromises, and there is no yard, but there's shelves. Okay, can we go to the next slide? So here's the fiddle yard. It is literally 4 tracks with room for 19 cars. And you just pluck them off the shelf. The shelf is right beside the fiddle yard. And you roll them on with one of those plastic, whatever you call them, the car rollers, so that they come on the track. Next slide, please. And the locomotives. Again, I don't have a locomotive yard. So the locomotives, you don't want to keep them in their boxes. There's no need. I do want to run them. You don't need thousands of locomotives for a small layout. And it's on the shelf, which is just on the other side of the programming track. So again, you take the locomotive out, put it on the track, program it, away you go. Can we go to the next slide, please? Now, this is my workshop. As you can see, it's a roll top desk. And when the video started, you saw the animal that we have with pointy ears and a tail. I believe they're called cats. Ours, I learned that if the cat wants my attention, and I've left the timbre on on the roll top desk open, we just hop on top of the desk and take an X-Acto knife or maybe a bottle of glue or paint, and we just move it with our paw and flick it onto the floor. And that's a great way to get attention from your human owner. So I learned very early on that when I'm not actually building a structure, I keep the timbre closed. And because it's a very nice looking old roll top desk, you can keep it in your dining room or your kitchen or your, what do they call it? What do the real estate agents call the room off your dining room? A breakfast nook. That's right. It's kind of straddles the dining room and the breakfast nook. But the interior designer approves of the roll top desk. She was showing visitors, oh, look at that. And they all thought it cost thousands of dollars. I got it on Kijiji for $150. And you can put the unbuilt kits in the drawers. They have two straight flat pieces that pull out to hold the instructions. And you can see all the little drawers in the top. They're ideal for holding your little parts and tools and so on. Yeah, and you do have to remember if you have any of these four-legged things with pointy ears, if you're working on a structure, it's a good idea to keep the timbre closed over the work surface because they do discover it's a great way to get your attention. Okay, I don't know if was that the last slide? Oh, no, I forgot. Now, my old layout, people might remember that on the back of the door to my old layout, I had what one of the visiting car members said. I remember him saying, "Wow, you're really anal retentive." And I didn't understand. And he said, "Look at this." He said, "You actually keep track of all your locomotives. When you last run them, you have pictures of each locomotive, who made it, what the number is when, because not all of them use the road numbers on the DCC system, when you last ran it, and status and comments about each locomotive." And I said, well, I guess I am anal retentive then. But anyways, at one point, that board was nearly full of locomotives. There was maybe 5 or 6 more. They're all broken. Those 5 or 6, I figure I can't be bothered getting them fixed. I don't know how to fix them. And so I'll just erase them and put them back in their boxes under the train. So there's now 1 RDC, 4 steam locomotives, and there's actually 7 diesel locomotives that work. And the status of the board just continues the way it did at the old layout, except now I don't have as many that work. So that's basically all I have to say. And that's it for my presentation.
Okay. Sharing.
Yeah, very interesting, Richard.
Oh, thank you. There's a lot of people who don't give any consideration to dismantling their model railroad, and it's not always something you like to remind people of.
Very
Richard,
interesting, Richard. Are there questions for Richard?
yeah, I've got a couple of questions. Richard, is it HO scale? I assume it is.
Yeah.
And secondly, if you're looking for buildings, I've just dismantled mine, and I've got boxes and boxes of structures and styrofoam bits and pieces. If you're interested in coming and rooting through the stuff.
So these are HO
Sorry?
structures. Are they already built?
Yes.
Oh, no, the fun for me is building them. that's why I go to the Lakeshore Train Show. I think that's coming up next Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll be there looking for Craftsman kits. I've learned over the years, don't bother with eBay. It's too expensive.
Oh yeah.
But
Agreed.
yeah, the building, basically, I like building structure kits. And I also, if you look at one of the pictures, never showed it, but I have a huge collection of unbuilt model airplanes. And I could never get around to building them because I didn't know where to put them.
Mm.
And there's no incentive for me to build a model airplane unless it can be displayed in some way.
Yeah. Mm.
So you like building but not repairing, is that it?
No, I'm not keen on repairing, especially after I've moved. You go to the trouble of getting all this bubble wrap and foam and tape and boxes, and everything is all set to wrap everything meticulously.
Yeah.
And you've got the wrap there, and you go over and you pick up the building, and it shatters and it crumbles. A trestle, a curved trestle. I can't remember how long. It
Gee.
took me months. I think it was during the pandemic to build a curved trestle. And you can just imagine how little fun it is trying to remove a curved trestle from a model railroad and wrap it and store it.
Mm.
What you end up with after a little while is a pile of sticks.
It's interesting. I was at a Fremo layout operating session on the weekend, and one of the chaps, he had some absolutely magnificent structures he had built, and he did a similar thing to you. He had them on little squares of inserts, and they just slipped into certain areas on his layout, and quite safe. It was quite impressive.
Yeah. Well, you can still break them just as easily.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't take much.
No.
Do you take the buildings off when you plan to move it?
Oh yeah, you lift off the buildings. The buildings are on their bases. You lift off the buildings and you wrap them carefully. And who knows where you might end up? I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do they have model railroads in mental institutions? I hope not.
Look, if your
But,
room's big enough, take it with you.
Yeah.
Richard, it's good to see you again. I remember operating on your layout 2 or 3 times
Yeah.
before you moved. I just want to congratulate you on an excellent presentation and the work that you've done. The way you've built the sections is very clever.
Thank you. Willie, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm still here.
Yeah.
And
And,
still enjoying the layout.
You must be what, 120 now?
Only 89. I'm turning 89 in a week or two, that's all.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
are you going to be able to make it to the train
The flea
show?
market.
flea
No,
market.
no. Mobility problems, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. But if you ever have time, I'm still on Bay Street. If you want
Yeah.
to come by and
Yeah, that's one solution.
yeah.
Yeah, one solution to not having enough space is simply to buy another condo for your
Oh,
for
sure.
your layout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody does that. I
Yeah,
assume.
or you could even rent another apartment in your apartment building.
Yeah. Well, I think it was a trick of my wife's to get me away from her by telling me to go to another condo units
But then again,
to get me out of the
condo,
house.
yeah, the condo that you bought, the
Yeah.
condo that you bought for your layout
Yeah.
has appreciated in value.
Possibly, yes. I think not very much. With what I bought non-renovated condo, so it doesn't have a great kitchen or cabinets and so on. It's not very modern, I purposely bought something for the layout, and condo prices have been fairly stable. But that's not really the main concern, you know. Uh, uh, we're not really concerned about the price.
Mhm.
My wife may keep it when I'm not there anymore. She may move into it. She may renovate it and move into it, you know, if she finds the present condo that we have is too large for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, remember what was her name? Jean Lemont, in Paris. She lived to be 128.
Yeah. Is that
So,
all? I'm planning.
yeah.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And she made a wager with her landlord, in which I think she was 93. And the
Hmm.
landlord said, I will let you stay in this apartment here in Paris for the rest of your
Right.
life for
Right.
free,
Hmm.
if
Yes.
I get to inherit it. And of course, she
Okay.
outlived the landlord.
Right. Well, okay.
Now, William,
Okay.
when you built your layout, you
Yeah.
weren't allowed to bolt into walls or anything. You had to make it basically freestanding, did you not?
No, I drilled into concrete walls.
Oh, did you? Okay.
But I did that during, I got a renovation permit while I was doing some removing of some walls and so on.
Hmm.
So I could drill through the wall. I wasn't too happy about it using a hammer drill, and my neighbors may not appreciate it, but when you have a renovation permit, you can work from 9 to 5.
It's
It can make noise,
it's
and it
amazing
didn't
how
take
that
long.
it's amazing
Yep,
how that sound travels through the whole building.
it does.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. I was glad when it was finished. So I supported the layout, the shelves, which are also 2 by 4 uh, boxes bolted together, but supported by wall supports. Mhm. So when the layout is no longer there, those holes will have to be patched, but the whole unit will need renovating anyhow.
Yeah.
Mhm. And it's a small one. It's just a 500 square foot studio.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Has anybody else built a modular layout in their homes?
I think the answer is
I guess not.
I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
I've moved it once,
Right.
and now I'm paying attention to how tall do you make it, and can you still get it out of there without dismantling walls? But yeah, it's done in, I guess, 6 or 7 sections. Um, Particle board vertical framework with the rest of the track work up on top, and wiring from one section. The whole thing is analog, so it's not not so simple in the wiring, but that was one of the things I learned very young, so it's easy.
What would be the
Uh,
largest size of one of your modules?
4 by 4,
4x4.
yeah, and this point by about 20 inches tall, I guess. So I have to take the legs off. They're 2 by 4 legs with in the bottom of the legs there are those threaded inserts that are made for furniture.
Hmm.
So you tap them in there so that your bolt doesn't just sink into the wood,
Yeah.
and you can do the leveling. And at one point, I got tired of hitting the back of my head on the bottom of the framework, so I did lift the whole thing up 7 inches.
Oh,
And
goodness.
and that actually, the way this room, when we moved, when we looked at the house, this room, it's a 10 by 10 room, and 2 of the walls are done with turned posts and open window frames.
Hmm.
So literally, lean on it with your elbows, have your beer, and watch the train go by, and the controls go in and out through the doorway on drawer slides.
Right.
So
fine.
and
Fine.
and also it's a recycle of a desk that my father built um, years ago. and it fit there, so it was perfect.
I could also, I have three 18 by 7 modular pieces, and which are had legs, but I'm now hanging them on the wall with right angle brackets. Plus, I was heavily involved in the Mainland Modular Group in Vancouver at one time, and we had 2 by 4 modular pieces. And in the end, much like what we saw here tonight, we had drop down legs. So there were, Lee Valley was selling these little angular drop hinges that lock in place. And so I have 1, 2, 3, I have 4 of those pieces, and they're 2 by 4 modular sections. And so I've made a number of those together so far. So.
Another unit you might like for apartments, just a small unit, like a very small unit. This takes a lot of time to build and keep you occupied. And it's very easy to move. I've got one that I built. It's actually 20 inches by 63 inches, so it's pretty tiny. But it's kind of fun. Built it for Thomas the Train. Actually, I could show it to you if you'd like to see it.
Yeah, if you can share it, go ahead.
Okay, I'll look for share somewhere on here.
It's usually in the bottom of the screen.
Okay.
Disappears when your mouse stops moving.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, I'm not sure what I got. Oh, that's not the one I want. Okay. I'm sorry, carry on your conversation while I figure this thing out.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mentioned I was at this Fremo event on the weekend, and I don't know how many of you are familiar with that. There are certain standards, but one of the standards is not the length of the modules. Basically, they're free to, they're 2 foot wide, but they can be any length, basically. And of course, there are standards as to where the track centers have to be on them.
Yeah.
But it was very flexible, and it was very enjoyable to run because we had, I don't know how many feet of main line. It was a few hundred feet at least. And some modules were not scenic, others were scenic to the hilt. But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I also got out of focus as we do in the hobby from time to time. But so I went into HON 30 just around my desk area in a very small room area, and I used 2.5 inch wall insulation foam, and I laminated some pieces together to get an oval. But I've got a right angle on that, and I'm hanging them on IKEA shelving. The shelving units that go in, and they mount very easily. I forgot what they call it now. I'd have to be able to speak Swedish with my head turned backwards, but it's like a frame mount you put on the wall, and it's got posts sticking way out, and you slide the shelf on.
Okay.
And I have the foam sitting on top of that,
right,
with double-sided tape.
Okay.
And use some Velcro in some other spots as well. So that's very temporary, but it's very movable. Mm-hmm. And I think the longest piece is 4.5 feet. And they're about maybe at some point 2 feet deep.
Right.
So just pick them up and walk out with them. And I'm using Engage track. So I got some Engage switch machine combinations, Cato. And then the other ones where I've actually got down to using HON 30 track I just flick the switches like the commentator mentioned. So
Great.
Okay,
Is this the one you wanted to show, Randy?
Yeah. This is one that it was an experiment. I'd worked on a big project for the museum here in Southampton, and I had lots of materials left over, and I'd been around buying all these little buildings the same way Richard does at shows, and then repainting them and fixing them all up. But this is a 20 by 30 layout that really started out. Let me just trying to try different things. I'll flip through it quickly. It looks like I have to do that. I wasn't sure how tight a radius I could go, so I put Thomas on there, got it down to 11 inches.
good test.
Yeah. And of course, laying the track out on 20 by 30, putting the buildings in. Oh, the blue lights are in couplers. I put magnets under the track there and let the lights show up. And the switches are all done remote using the 6-pin switch slides. There's the magnet. And basically, the whole thing is on a foam board, weighs about 8 pounds. And when I take the shows, it has a complete frame around it with lighting. So it's usually when I get to a show, it gets lots of attention.
Yeah, awesome.
Great.
So,
Another good reason to build a module, eh?
Yes.
To take to shows.
Yeah. I have another switching layout I take to shows and let kids operate it. And it's on foam as well with 9 switches. And they have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Do you mind stop sharing there?
Yep. Just hitting the button here.
Yeah.
Is it off now?
Yep. Okay, Richard, you sent a quick video. I'm just going to show that very quickly. You might want to comment on it as we go.
Yeah. Can I talk over the video, or does it work?
Yeah. If I can find it.
Yeah, I learned how to transmit videos today. That's a new skill.
Oops. There we go.
Yeah. Now, yeah. Well, let's see if it works. Yeah. But anyways, the buildings on the back, that's the upper level. All the structures on the back came from my old layout, and I think I filled the stretch. There's like 3 structures on either side of the Grimsby Station. That's an ITLA kit, the Grimsby Station. And most of the others are Craftsman kits. But once the train moves around, you'll see that the back is just sitting on foam, 4 layers of foam. There's the west pod that I showed earlier. The train just loops around it. You can see in the background, there's the shelves holding the cars. You can see there's still lots of work to be done. On the lower level, there's a lot of empty space open for future structures when I build them. Everything is kept as simple as possible. You can see the gap there between the sections. There's no water. There's no water yet. I don't know if I'll ever get around to building canyons and valleys and waterfalls and trestles and things like that. You certainly don't want to invest a lot of time and effort in something that you're afraid you're going to have to tear down. That's the Uxbridge station that I scratch built. This is passing by the FSM 2-stall engine house here. And it should be coming to a stop in a second or two. The video, just to show you around the layout. The cars are the not the micro scale. anyways, yeah, the cars are the ones that I was offering for sale at the train show, but I'm not going to offer them for sale anymore. 'Cause I want them.
Well, any more comments or questions for Richard before we call it a night?
No, I
Thank
think that's
you.
it.
Great.
Thank you, Richard.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Very
you very much.
interesting.
Good presentation.
Yeah, yeah.
Very good.
Thank you for persevering, Richard. You had some challenges, but you've met them all. So congratulations.
Yes,
Very good. Mhm.
I'm challenged in many ways. Yeah.
That was good. Thank you
Good.
very much.